Hey everyone, in this video I'm going to show you how I set up my Vortex and then we're going to take it out for the first flight. I've been reading a lot about people having problems getting their Vortex set up and it not being able to fly. So I'm just going to show you how I did it on mine using a D4R2 set up on my Tyrannus. So let's get started. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to reset the Vortex, and the way you do that is you power it up, let it go through the cycle, and then on the back where the LEDs are, there's a little button. You push and hold that for 5 seconds. Sorry about my dog, she's snoring over here. Okay, now it's done. Now I'm going to unplug this. And then first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set up my radio. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to set up a new model on my Tyrannus, and then I'll show you how to bind it up and program everything.
Welcome to Free Sky Tyrannus. Okay. Engine on.
So I'm going to go down here, select a new model, create a new model.
Switch warning.
I'm going to disable that. That's kind of annoying. Down. Disable throttle warning, disable switch warning. Okay, up here, I'm just going to name it Vortex. Where is it? Vortex. And then, oops. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to bind our our receiver. So to bind the D4R2, first you have to go to the mode and change it to D8. Go here, go up, and you exit, whoops, and then get ready to bind. Okay, to bind the receiver on the D4R2, you plug this, or to get a PPM on the D4R2, you have to put this little square thing. It came with your receiver across 3 and 4. It's a little jumper wire, and then I'm just going to plug this up with a signal on the outside to channel 1. And then the way you do this is you go to bind over here and you select bind, and then while you plug in your power, you have to hold the little Failsafe button on the receiver. So I'm going to do this. And let go. Exit out of this, and then when you plug it back in, the LED should turn green. Green, and it's bound. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to program the transmitter for our arm and disarm switch and the flight modes. In the manual, it tells you to assign channel 5 to flight modes, but it doesn't really matter where you set up the channel, as long as you set up channel 6 or channel 5 and channel 6, and you use the correct toggle in clean flight. It doesn't matter. I'll show you how to do that in a little bit. So right now I'm going to program this switch right here for the flight modes, and then I'm going to use this switch for the arm and disarm. So you just go into menu and you scroll down to page 6, and then for channel 5 I'll set it to auxiliary 1. So I'll hit that, and then you just select the switch you want to use. So auxiliary 1 will be my flight modes. Exit. And then for channel 6, this is my auxiliary 2, and this will be arm and disarm. So I'm just using this one. Exit. And now we're ready for clean flight. Okay, so I'm in clean flight right now. The Vortex are pre-flashed with clean flight, so in order to use clean flight, you have to add it onto your computer first. So just go to Chrome and then search, whoops, not this one. Just go to Chrome and search Clean Flight Configurator, and then click add, and then you have to have the correct drivers to use Clean Flight. So just go to this link. I'll put it in my description below, and then just download the driver for your system. So since I already have Clean Flight installed on mine, we're just going to start right here. Okay, so in order to plug up your Vortex to Clean Flight, you have to power up the battery, or power up your quad first. So we're going to do this. Oops. And then we'll just plug it in using the micro SD on the bottom. And then it should automatically connect on your Clean Flight. And then so here I'm just going to go through what I have enabled in my my setup. So normally default on the Vortex, when you arm it, the motors are going to spin. I don't want that. And then I'm going to enable one shot. Leave all this the same, all this the same. And then right here, if you're using a PPM receiver like the D4R2, you have to select RX PPM right here. Otherwise, your quad is not going to recognize this receiver and it won't work. And for now, I'm just going to leave all this other stuff as is, because like the battery voltage stuff is built into the quad itself. So after you make your selections, you have to hit save and reboot. Otherwise, Clean Flight won't remember. Oops. Save, rebooting. Okay. And then PID tuning will skip, and receiver. Okay, now when I turn on my transmitter, it should show up.
Welcome to Free Sky Tyrannus.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah? Okay, yeah. My receiver is not really responding correctly to my Clean Flight, and that's because I'm using a Tyrannus. So just change your channel map to this one. Hit save and refresh. Now throttle is throttle, yaw is yaw, pitch, roll, and this should be my auxiliary 1, and auxiliary 2. One thing I noticed about the Vortex is when you plug it into the Clean Flight, the controls don't respond as snappy as if you just connect it up to an ACE32. There's a slight delay. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to set up our flight modes and arm and disarm. So you just go to the modes tab on your Clean Flight, and then basically for these options on the left, you just click for arming. I'm just click add range, and then my arming is set up on auxiliary 2. So I'm going to set this to auxiliary 2. And then I'm going to set this position up as arm. So when you move these, you should see this little orange thing move around, and that's basically where your position is. And then you just set your range to activate that range. Okay, and then for my flight modes, I have this set on auxiliary 1. So when you move this around, you'll see this little orange thing move around also. So I'm just going to set up as my angle. So I'll just change this to where this little orange thing is. And in my middle, I'll leave as horizon. And then for forward, if you don't set anything for the value, it's automatically the acro or rate mode. So that's pretty much it for my switches. And then once you set your switches, don't forget to hit save. So if you don't do that, it's not going to save and it won't work. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is set up a failsafe on our D4R2, because for the default failsafe, or I wouldn't call it a failsafe, but default mode is if you're flying,
lost, telemetry recovered.
is when you're flying and you lose signal on your receiver is just going to hold this last position. So if you're, say you're flying and then you lose your transmitter signal, your receiver is going to hold that position, and you could just fly away for, I don't know, a mile or two before you run out of battery, or you could run into someone. So we're just going to set up a failsafe on the D4R2, and the way you do that is we're just going to set it to remember the or we're going to make it stop all controls. So it's basically just going to fall to the ground when you lose signal. So the way you do that is you put your throttle all the way to the bottom, and then you just push the failsafe button briefly for less than 1 second. Like that. It should be set. So we're going to fly, turn off, and there you go. Failsafe is set. Alright, so we're just going to do one more thing before we go fly. I'm going to program my Tyrannus to tell me when my engine is, or my quad is armed, when I hit my arm switch. And then I haven't figured out how to use the RSSI on my EasyOSD on the Vortex yet. So in the meantime, I'm just going to set this little toggle switch up here to tell me the RSSI of my D4R2. Because it's still pretty wet outside and I don't want to crash my Vortex because this thing's just too darn pretty. Okay, so let's go on, and then you're just gonna
Free Sky Tyrannus.
And then just select the model that you're using, and then page down to page 11 right here. And then for the custom functions, custom function 1, I'm gonna set this to tell me when it's armed, like this. So go here, enter, and then select the position you want. So I'm just gonna go up. And then for the function, I'm going to select play track. Play track. And then the arming is called engine on or something like that. So just go find the track you want to play. Engine on, right there. So when I hit this up,
engine on,
it tells me when it's armed. And the next one is RSSI for my D4R2. So exit, go down, CF2, select, and then it's going to be this one, and then here, and then you're going to select play value. Play value, and it will be RSSI. So you just go and you find RSSI. RSSI right there. Okay, before we go fly, I'll just show you everything that we just did. We basically programmed this switch right here for arming.
Engine on.
And then for this, it shows you the RSSI.
105 dB.
If I move it away.
101 dB.
Yeah, so it just basically shows you the current RSSI of this. Just a workaround right now because I haven't figured out the RSSI in the Vortex EasyOSD. And then my flight modes are set at this switch right here. Okay, so let me charge up the battery and mount my antenna, and then we'll go fly.
Lost.
Okay, so something strange did happen while I was trying to program the Vortex. Earlier, after I unplugged it, I plugged it back in, and it wasn't reading my stick movements, and it wouldn't connect to Clean Flight. I would have this plugged in, and then I connect the USB to my computer, and Clean Flight wasn't recognizing the quad. It wasn't even showing the little preview, and I couldn't select any of the tabs. So basically what I did was I unplugged the USB from the Vortex and unplug the power, turn this off, and then I plug the battery back in, and then while it's doing the startup sequence where the 4 LEDs come on slowly, before they ended, I pushed the button at the LED and basically reset the quad. You hold it for 5 seconds and it'll reset the quad, and I had to do that a couple times before I could get the stick movements to work again. So that's maybe something you should keep in mind if that happens to you. Just unplug your USB from the computer and reset the Vortex. And then I did that a couple of times, and then I finally got everything to work again. So in this flight, I'm basically flying on profile number 1, or the preset 1, with the stock PIDs that came with the Vortex. I didn't do any tuning because the mosquitoes were out and they were tearing me up, so I just wanted to get some footage and get out of there actually. Yeah, but with just the standard 1806 23 kV motors and the 5030 props, the Vortex felt really good. Felt like there's plenty of power, and it was actually pretty smooth, except for with those PIDs there's a weird yaw drift. As you can see, sometimes you're going straight and the quad would just want to turn by itself, but that's something you can just fix later in PIDs. Yeah, I was just taking it really easy in this flight because it's been raining so much and the floors were all wet. I didn't want to crash this thing. You can see mud everywhere over here. That was my first flight, or first flip on the quad. So what you're seeing here is what it looks like through the goggles. This was recorded through my Fat Shark Dominator V2s, and to be honest, the FPV camera that comes with the Vortex pretty much sucks. Yeah, I'm used to using the 12 volt CCD Sony cameras, and those give you a much better quality than this one. But anyways, the OSD that the Vortex comes with is pretty cool. On the top left, you can see your video transmitter frequency. Bottom left is your battery info. You get your voltage and then your remaining milliamp hours. And in the middle, it shows you what your ESCs are currently drawing. And on the right, you have flight time and then how many milliamps you've drawn so far. And then top right shows your height and current flight mode, which is pretty cool. So I hope you found this video helpful, and don't forget to subscribe. I have a whole bunch of other videos coming up. So thanks for watching.